I'm Army Specialist Scott, and this is USO Xbox 360 Repair and Maintenance Training Video number 5. Opening and cleaning the Generation 1 Xbox 360. Now then, for this yes, we're also going to be working on the power brick as well, because nobody wants an exploding power brick. Now then, things that you're going to be needing for this are one Xbox 360 Generation 1 opening tool, these can be gotten off of Amazon, along with a screwdriver set for about $12, nice and cheap. You will also be needing a T10 screwdriver, and it is a star-shaped screwdriver. Let's see if it'll focus. Yeah, there you go. And if you're using a screwdriver bit, you are going to need a screwdriver bit driver. And that's just to open it up. To clean it, you will be needing, number 1, at least 2 cans of canned air, depending upon how dirty it is. Okay? You're going to be needing 2 cans of canned air because you're going to be alternating between them, because these things get cold, and when they get cold they lose pressure because inside of here is, I believe, liquid nitrogen, which, decompresses and then it decompresses when you pull the trigger. The liquid will turn into a gas as it expands and repressurizes it. After that, you will also be needing isopropyl alcohol. I like to use 70% isopropyl alcohol. Does well so far. And also Q-tips. Last but not least, you will also be needing a washcloth, a toothbrush, and probably a small cup, like a little coffee cup or a shot glass to pour your alcohol into. And don't drink it because you will go blind. But instead, to dip the washcloth or the Q-tips into, or the toothbrush into. Alright, so getting started. To open the Xbox 360 Generation 1, step 1 is very simple. Come down here to the bottom, and you look for this little tiny notch right here up on the front. Right there. And all you do is you just grip that underhanded, this pressure here, and pull. Pops right off. This is not broken, it's designed to come off. Why? Because Microsoft wanted to give people the freedom to change the aesthetic of their Xboxes by changing out the faceplate, which was the most visible portion of the system because it was what what was forward all the time. All right, let's go ahead and set that to the side. Next, you take these plastic pieces off on the top and bottom. To do that, step 1 is right here. This little rubber foot pad. What you need to do is come in with a good strong thumbnail, or maybe a tiny flathead screwdriver, and just pry that little guy right off. See? Then put it somewhere safe where it's not going to get lost. Now the reason why we do that is because right there is an access hole to hit the foot of the peg that is in there and holding the case together. So to get to these pegs that are holding this thing together, up top side you've got 2 big holes, one here, one here. The way that you get to that is, at least the first one anyway, take your tool, you come in here very gentle like, let's get closer for you. And there's going to be a little post in there that you're going to find, pry up on here, and you're going to bring that post, you're going to try and pry it towards the inside, come in on the other side, pry that one towards the inside, and there it is. Comes right up. Now then, on either side, you will see these two holes here. There's another post right there. Pops up more, and then there's another one on the other side, marked with 4. And then, last but not least, the very back. Go ahead and pop that guy there, and then he's got a twin on the other side. And voila, that plastic piece comes right off. And these are the legs that you were going to. Now then, to demonstrate on the front one again, you got your 2 holes here and here. What you do is you come in through here, try and get on the back side of this, and just pry it forward, kind of gently. And in so doing, you release it from its catch, which is right there. Now then, that's the top one. Let's get the bottom one now. On the bottom, you don't have to take off any of the feet to get these off. You just have to look for your markers. And your markers are your filled-in holes on either side. They will either outline or simply mark where the feet are. So come in here, and you see if I can get this just right. There we go. You set that one there. This has been opened up so many times that these start to release on their own because of wear and tear. But don't worry, they don't just start falling off randomly. And there we go. Alright, so top and bottom plastic. Next thing that we do is take the system, flip it over so it's DVD drive side down. Go ahead and zoom in here. Not just a touch. Alright, now then, you're going to see right here, you got these large major clips. Now on some systems you're going to have a shiny Microsoft sticker here, you might have a paper Microsoft sticker here. Either cut it or peel it off. It's superfluous, it's not going to destroy the system, it's already out of warranty, so don't even worry about it. Now then, I like to go ahead and use a thumbnail because, you know, have it. I come in, pry that one, pop that one, pop that one, dadgummit. There we go. Pop those. So you pop them up, and then next thing you're going to do, come around here to the back, and this is where you're going to use your opening tool again. What you're going to do is you're going to see these 5 holes right here, which line up to these guys right here. The name of the game here is to line them up just right, because the teeth that you're going to are actually on this side. What you're going to do is you're going to put the tool in and then try and kind of angle it towards this edge here as you do so, instead of just jamming it in and then edging it. No, you're going to try and angle it in like that as you're putting it in, because if you do that correctly, it'll just pop right open like that. Ouch. Okie dokie. And then on the other side, in here maybe you can actually get it to cooperate in the stake. The other side, the same thing. You're going to use the opposite side. 2 teeth here, 2 teeth here. Angle it just so. Line it. That's right. Down here like this better. Okay, refocus. All right. Line these up. Angle it. Press and lift. And there it is. The bottom portion of the plastic is now off. Now then, when you initially get this off, you're going to notice that it's probably really, really dirty. It's probably really, really dusty on the inside on this portion here. That's where You can either A, hit it with some canned air, or you can conserve your canned air. Come in with your washcloth, knock the dust off. If you really want to scrub it clean, you can actually take this portion here over to your kitchen sink and then wash it off with soap and water and then let it dry completely. Now then, next, come around here to the front and we see the DVD drive, okay? And then this right here is the DVD drive eject button. Why is this thing wiggling at me? I apologize for this thing shaking. I don't know why the camera seems to be possessed. Alright, now then. You want to go ahead and very carefully remove the eject button assembly. To do that, I like to use a tiny flathead screwdriver. What you're going to do is, on this portion here, this is actually a portion of the DVD drive. You're just going to very gently wedge it in there. And just, you know, on some of them, this one's really loose. On some of them, you're going to wedge it in, and then you're going to have to wiggle it, you know, kind of back and forth a bit, and then it'll pop off. But once it comes off, go ahead and put it to the side somewhere safe, because this piece of plastic here is ridiculously fragile. I cannot tell you how many of these I have broken because I have lost count. So I put that somewhere safe. And then we leave this drive cover on because there's no need to take it off. The next thing that we do is, on the top of the 360, you will not see because I've got the camera misaligned. Okay, there we go. Top, sorry, I say top, it's actually, this is actually spatially the bottom of the 360. What you're going to want to do here is come in and with a Sharpie, mark off the screws that you're going to be taking out. Okay? These screws are the screws that actually hold the system together. Okay? Now then, the rest of these screws, unless you're taking out the motherboard, which I do not tell you to do, you do not remove these screws unless you intend to take out the motherboard. And with my video series, there is no reason to do that because I don't tell you to. Now, if you're worried about, oh, well, what if there's dust under there? Well, there are these lovely holes here, okay? Lovely, large 4 holes. What you can do is you can take your canned air, just pull out a little bit further. Take your canned air, put the nozzle in while it's vertical, like so. Stick the nozzle in. Sorry, let's use this hole here. Okay, yeah, because that one can actually be seen. Anyway, you stick the nozzle in here a little ways, and then you rotate it around while airing it out. Okay? So just like this. Sorry, just like this. Except that right there I just lost the nozzle and totally embarrassed myself. Lol. That's fine. Things happen. That one's perfect. Alright, let's see if we can get this. There we go. Alright, so anyway, yeah, that's how you dust out the side of the motherboard if you're really, really super concerned about that. Next, you will be taking your... Let's see if I can angle this just right. Just right. Zoom out a little. No, we're all the way out. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and take out the screws now. Using our T10 screwdriver. And they come right out. It's not difficult to get those out at all. And there are 6 of them. You may have... I've seen commonly there will normally be a security sticker on this one right here. If there's not, it's cool, don't worry about it. But it is 6 bolts. That one in frame? Yeah, hopefully that one was in frame. Alright. And then there's 3 across the front also. Starting with this one at the absolute corner. Go ahead and take that one out. And this one here in the center. And then this last guy over here at the edge. Now, back at the edge of the table there. Now, go ahead and take the 360, flip it back over, grab the top firmly by the plastic, and lift. There it is. Behold the guts of the Xbox 360 in all of their glory, or lack thereof. Alrighty. So, this right here is the top piece. This is nothing but metal and plastic. Sorry, heat shielding plastic and metal. Or, sorry, the heat shielding is metal. Anyway, this portion here you can actually go, you're going to have a couple of plastic welded points here and here. If you want to, because there is actually a whole huge amount of dust underneath this between the plastic and the metal, go ahead and break these points and then pop this piece off. Use your washcloth to wipe all this out. Use some canned air if you feel like it to get the larger sections of junk off, and then once that's done, go ahead and set it to the side. It's important to basically do all this stuff, you know, piece by piece, step by step, because it's a whole huge, long process. It takes about, I'd say honestly, about an hour to do each time. Now then, next thing we're going to be pulling out, the DVD drive. Now then, because this particular Xbox 360 suffers from issues with its DVD drive, this particular DVD drive will not necessarily be re-entering this Xbox 360 in its same form that it is in right now. Alright, so to get this thing out, you've got your SATA cable here, and your power cable assembly there. To get the SATA cable out, take your handy dandy flathead, wedge it between that little notch there and the thing. If I can get it just right here, and then just pop it out. There it is. Easy peasy. Couldn't be simpler at all. Now then, you'll notice this extra wire right here. Well, what's this extra wire? This extra wire. The extra wire right there is, in fact, a 12-volt mod for the case fan. Which we'll get into that in a different video. Now then, to unplug the DVD drive, you just the power cables for the DVD drive, you just reach in, grab them, and mercilessly tug it right out. Now, you should be able to, oh wait, sorry, I forgot. Front side. Static grounding tape, bend that down. Then you've got these evil little guys right here that hold the DVD drive in place. Why are they evil? Well, because they get snagged and then they like to destroy themselves. If you end up destroying them, it's no huge tragedy. They don't really serve any major purpose. This thing is not going to ban you from Xbox Live if those aren't in there. But anyway, you just gently tilt from the back and lift up and out. There it is. DVD drive. We're going to set this over here. Now then, on the underside of the DVD drive, once you've got that guy out, you are going to notice the heatsink for the graphics processor is right here. You're also going to notice this heat pipe if yours has one. Not all 360s are the same. Like I said, this one is a... Where's my picture guide? If you remember earlier when we were examining these in a previous video, we determined that this one is in fact a Zephyr Xbox 360 because on the back it's got the line, three power plugs, puck in the middle, 3 power plugs, plus HDMI adapter, or sorry, video plug. So, this right here designates it as taking a 203 watt power supply unit. That is your HDMI, which means it is a Zephyr. So, moving right along. Go ahead and take out these extra wires here. Or sorry, let's start with the SATA cable. Can be a little bit tricky. You might need to get some needle nose pliers. Just let me get those out of my toolkit real quick. Should have thought about that earlier. Alright, so needle nose pliers. Come in right here and just gently wiggle and lift up. And there it is. Set that aside. Next, the cooling fan cowling. There's a clip on this right here in the back side here. It's actually right about here. What you do is you're going to wedge this in here on the back side, like so, and then push forward and lift up at the same time a little bit, but make sure you're actually gripping the cowling when you do. And then once it's released, just gently try and wiggle it on out of there, and there it is. And when you do this, don't expect your Xbox 360 to be as clean as this one. This one has been recently cleaned and then left to sit and not get used at all. Reason being, I don't have a power adapter specifically for it, because this power adapter here that I showed you earlier, this is a Falcon power adapter, because it does not have an opening for the puck right there in the middle, but it will take the bar. But we'll get into all that stuff later. Now then, so you've got your DVD power cable now, which is still connected to your case fan. So we're going to go ahead and grip that over here, pull that off the board, let it sit like so. To take out the case fan, you need to pry this middle piece off, which holds it in place, and then tilt the fan forward. Sometimes this metal piece is really, really strong and just really, on there. You might need to take a flathead screwdriver or a flat sort of shim, kind of get it in there gently, and then pry that metal piece up gently. Not to the point where you end up ripping it all the way backwards, but just to the point where it will release the fan, and then you can tilt the fan forward and wiggle it out. Grip its power connector here, or actually now it's just its grounding connector, and then pull that up. Now then. If you're really concerned about it, sometimes you will find an amount of dust here between this power on board and I think it's the wireless controller receiver. You'll find a good amount of dust between this and the metal. All you'll do to take that off is thumbnail here on this clip, because it's a dual-sided clip, and then just lift up and it falls right off. Now then, once you've got that done, you can actually take off these 3 screws, take it off, just pull it right out. It's got a modified USB connector down here, or something that looks similar to a modified USB connector. And from there you'll be able to use your alcohol-soaked soft toothbrush, canned air, or Q-tips with some alcohol on them to scrub that clean. Now then, getting clean the rest of the Xbox 360, to do that, what I recommend doing is just initially just take your canned air, hold it vertically, because canned air can be a little bit tricky. Canned air can be tricky because if you hold it this way, or if you get it at any kind of angle where any of the liquid can get out, you're going to end up with this. Okay? And that right there is the actual liquid coming out and expanding upon contact with the air. It also tastes really, really nasty if you end up getting enough of it in the air. You can end up, kind of tainting the air with a nasty smell. But anyway, so you don't want to get that on there on the electronic components because it will cause condensation. The condensation is water, and if that sits on there too long, it can cause corrosion. So what you do is you hold the system vertically like so, hold the bottle vertically, or at least as vertically as you can, and then just close it out. Okay, like so. After you've gotten the large detritus out, that's when you're going to come in with your Q-tips and your alcohol, and you're going to start Q-tipping the board and going over all the very fine details. And once you've gone over all the very fine details, you're going to look for anything that's caked on that refused to come off with a Q-tip, and for those portions, you'll go ahead and use the brush. I like to use a brush on the the heat sink that I can actually get to using the brush, just because, you know, it works better at getting all the little bits out from being way down there. Okay. So get between all the fins with your brush. Don't bend any of the fins if you can possibly avoid it. It is to be avoided at all costs, bending the fins, because it is not a happy day if that happens. It will end up causing heat buildup, which will end up causing, as we all know, red ring of death, which nobody wants. Now then. And also, don't get too overzealous when you're doing this. Don't start, just going at it, because you can knock off. Where are they? Yeah, here we go. You can end up knocking off these little guys right here, and also these tiny little guys right here, which are surface mount devices, and these itty bitty little guys right here, which are micro surface mount devices. You can also end up bending to uselessness the capacitors here that are around the processor, and you can also end up breaking off and destroying the capacitors here, which again nobody wants. So avoid doing that at all costs. Now then, once this is actually clean, which will take 10, 15, 20 minutes depending upon how nasty it is, once that's actually done, you can go ahead and set it aside. And then the next thing that you need to take care of is the cowling. The cowling is pretty easy. It's a nice smooth piece of plastic. You just take your rag, you wipe it out, you get all the hefty things off, or you can just hose it to get all the hefty things off, and then soak this with some alcohol, come through, and then scrub it until it's clean. Because trust me, if any part of this is not as clean as you can get it, then you're gonna have to be redoing this again, next month, like urgently, because dust builds up on top of dust. The fan I have seen is the most incredibly dirty portion of the system. Every single Xbox 360 of every model and generation that I've opened up so far that has been used for any length of time, the fan always has a ginormous amount of junk just caked on it. So the only solution there is to hose it out to get the large pieces off with some canned air, and then afterwards it's time to come at it with Q-tips and alcohol, and that scrubbing it with Q-tips and alcohol is the only way to really get it clean. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try it for yourself. See how successful you are. Probably won't be very successful. But anyway. Alright, so now then, what is this that you have seen here? This is the 12-volt fan mod. Okay? And it's very, very simple. And this is how you do it on the Generation 1 Xbox 360s. Now, I am going to be doing a separate video for this. It's going to be video 7, where I show you how to do this for both systems. But for now, I just wanted to give you a preview look at it so that you could know generally what you'd be looking at later on. At least for the Generation 1 Xbox 360. Now then, we're going to go ahead and set this aside, assuming that you've already cleaned it. And next, definitely not least, is the DVD drive. Cleaning out the DVD drive is absolutely essential. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's absolutely essential because a lot of your particulate matter that gets into the system comes in and stays in the DVD drive. Well, why is that such a major issue? That's such a major issue because the more junk you end up having built up in this guy, the more messed up it's going to be. So, how do you do this? You look for the 4 screws on the underside. You go ahead and break that sticker there, which is no problem. Lay it down, and then you get your standard large Phillips head screwdriver. Put this bit back real quick and let's fit this. Alright, so go ahead and come out with a Phillips head screwdriver. Take those screws out. Doesn't take too long, but can be a pain in the neck. Sometimes they want to cooperate, other times they don't. Apparently these want to cooperate this time. Awesome, that didn't work as I wanted it to. Oh well. Things happen. Alright, now then, you've got the DVD drive doing its thing. Grab the posts and push gently at all corners, 2 at a time until it pops right off. Sorry, I don't know if I got that in view or not. Move the camera back a little bit. Alright, so there's the underside. Okay. So we're going to push on the top here. There we go, and there's the cowling. This is the upper portion of the spindle. This is the lower This is the lower portion of the spindle. Okay? This is where your disc actually sits while it's spinning. Now, while it's doing its thing, while it's spinning, it's actually knocking against the sides in here of the tray. And it's throwing off dust and other particulate matter that build up on it whenever it's in its case, sitting in the system, in your hand. And that little microscopic particulate matter builds up over time. And it will turn into a kind of like a dark plaque, kind of like on your teeth when you haven't brushed them in a while. Build up into a really dark plaque right up in here, and it's really nasty and really gooky. And so what you do is you take your Q-tips, soak them in alcohol, come through and just scrub relentlessly until it's all gone. So why is that important? That is important because the more of that gook you have in here, along these edges here, the more of that gook is going to get into the spindle. The slower the spindle is going to be able to spin at lower power, so it's going to have to increase its power to spin faster, which means it's going to get hotter, which means it's going to damage itself. Also, that stuff is going to get on the laser and into the laser circuitry. And this laser is already boogered up, so not a desirable thing to have happen. Alright, so what you do to clean this thing completely is you're going to need to actually eject the tray, kind of by force. Now, does that mean that you just come in here, grab this part, and just, rip it open? No. If you do that, you have just broken the drive, and you need to go buy a new one. What you're going to do is you're going to take a very, very, very careful look at the underside of the drive. Right about, let's see if I can get the light to help me here. Alright, so, right about in here, right here, you're going to see some gears, I hope. I don't know if this is showing up correctly, but I think the gears are actually right here that you're going to be able to see. And what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to try and hit those gears, because the old Xbox 360 didn't really have a very good way of being able to get this thing jimmied open. Yeah, it really didn't. Okay. Yeah, here we go. What you're going to want to do is right here across the top, you're going to see a little bit of gear here. You're going to take a safety pin. Is the best thing to use, because you've got some extra grip on it down here and you can actually control it better. You're going to come in here, you're going to very gently, you're not going to jam it into anything, you're just going to take it, you're going to hook one of the teeth and then kind of pry it to the side a little ways, and there it is. And in this way, there you can actually see it now, you're going to be driving the disc tray out. But anyway, once you've actually got it out by about 1/4 of an inch, then you can just gently slide it out the rest of the way, and that'll give you access to the rest of the gears underneath. Well, why is it important to go ahead and keep those gears clean also? Well, the reason why is because if you don't, then it's actually going to be a really nasty thing to have to deal with later. Nobody likes having to deal with a nasty thing, ever. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I've just discovered something. Oh look, that does do what I thought it did. I may not have needed to buy a whole new DVD drive, after all, to fix the laser read error. But don't tell my wife that. She'll bite my freaking head off. So anyway, yeah, we're going to keep this extra drive in reserve for a while before we actually do the surgery on this. Alright, so there's the drive. This one actually does have a mechanical issue where it has to be on its side to properly open and close. It does not like being vertical. It wants to be horizontal to do it. This is a common issue with most Xbox 360's Generation 1 systems. It's not really anything to really worry about too much. It's just kind of an inconvenience sometimes. But, you know, things happen, you know? It's interesting. Alright. I'm playing with this thing too much. Because I'm thinking about videos for the future. Alright, now then, once you've got the DVD drive open, you go ahead and you're going to want to clean out the metal on the inside, because the metal, especially here, is going to have a whole lot of junk on it. Once you've got that done, it is time to come at the power brick. Well, why is it important to clean out the power brick? It's important to clean out the power brick because the power brick gets dirty just like the rest of the system. And if the power brick gets dirty and builds up a bunch of dirt and soot and nasty into it, it will most definitely explode, because you're going to get a bunch of that dirt and that other nasty built up in there, and it's going to cross circuit across contacts, it's going to overheat, things are going to melt, and it's just a whole lot of no fun, because then your system's dead until you get a new brick. And new bricks cost money. Nobody wants to spend extra money. Now then, to get the brick open, you're going to flip it over so that the sticker side is up. Okay? So you got sticker side up. When you do that, you're going to see 4 feet. Okay? Now, the rubber feet on this one are gone, but you're going to see 4 rubber feet. What you're going to want to do is take your nice, sturdy safety pin, like this one that I showed you earlier, or maybe even something like an ice pick, and you're going to stab through the rubber down until you basically feel, more resistance than rubber or plastic would give. You're going to angle it to one side and then lift up. Angle, down, angle, lift up. And you're going to want to go kind of not directly center, but slightly off center, because there's a little puck in there that's about, I'd say about that large, but double this thickness, double this width, and that's going to obstruct the center of the foot. But anyway, once you actually get that in there, you're going to lift up, and that should take the foot with it. You're going to do that for all 4, and then underneath you will find nice easy going with 4 standard Phillips head screws. So what do you do then? You come in with your Phillips head screwdriver, and they're going to be a bit stiff, but you go ahead and you take those bolts out. Sorry. Alright, now then, you'll now take your power brick in both hands, align your hands right along the seams, and gently wiggle and pull both ends as it gently comes apart. Pay attention to where you see that little wire with the fan. It's on this portion right here up front, so we're now going to set it horizontally, set it flat, and then lift it over in concert with this fan wire here, because we do not want to tear that wire. That wire powers this fan underneath here. Now then, once we've got this open, the next thing to do is take a look and see just how much dust and other gook is in here, and if there's a lot, then you've got a lot more work ahead of you. You're going to have to take out every single tiny screw here on the cowling up top side. Normally you're not going to have a bunch of dust down here in everything that I've ever taken apart. Normally the majority of the dust is right up here, not down here, up here. If there is any dust down here, it's really simple. Come in with your canned air. Done. Too easy. But normally you're going to see a bunch of dust and other gook up here. So you're going to come in again and just hose it out with your canned air mercilessly. If you don't feel comfortable taking this plastic off and unplugging things and doing all that jazz and getting really involved with it, I advise going ahead and getting involved with it and not being afraid. Just be gentle with your wires. Don't worry so much about the tape. The tape's not a big deal. The big deal is the wires, the circuits, and the fan. Okay? Wires, circuits, fan. That's a big deal. Otherwise, the tape, this gray stuff here, which is epoxy, not such a big deal. This little metal heat cowling down here, this shiny piece that you're seeing, don't pry that up. if you pry that up, you're never going to get it back down. That's made of tin. That's made of just enough tin that's just the right thickness, so that if you pry it up, you're never going to get it back down. So don't do that. You can go ahead and take out the fan, take out the screws, then you take out the fan, and then dust everything out, Q-tip everything out, put it all back in the way it was, and then we close that right back up very gently. Things that are going to give you a headache on this, just to be prepared for it, are getting the plug end here realigned correctly, while at the same time getting the wire end here and the lens right there, because this is the light that lights up, and getting this lens realigned correctly also, and trying to wiggle that back to, oh hey, cool, first try. Anyway, normally this is a real major, huge, big, nasty headache. It's normally just a huge migraine to do, to get that back together, but it's worth it though, because you clean it out, you get it clean, it stays cool, powers your system longer, and then you can keep playing. So anyway, we'll go ahead and put those bolts back in. I think that's actually it for this video. Let me check real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Now then, going back to a talking point at the start of this video, I mentioned that you should never take out the motherboard and that I advise you to not take out the motherboard. The reason why I advise you to not take out the motherboard is because all of those bolts in there are in there really, really stiffly. And in my experience with getting the bolts in and out and trying to work on all that, I ended up destroying quite solidly not one, not two, but 3 individual driver heads like this one here. And these are not cheap, especially when they come in a set. So don't take out the bolts on the underside of the 360 chassis. It's not worth it. It's really not in the long run. Because when you're putting them back on, you run the risk of shearing the bolt, which again is a whole huge nasty of no fun. But yeah, on my system that I'm keeping for myself, this bolt right here is actually missing a head because I got really overzealous when I was putting it back in, and I broke that bolt. That's actually how I ended up stripping that bolt there. Was after putting in all of these and then trying to make sure that this one got in. This was the last one, and I ended up breaking it. Yeah. So that is it for this video regarding the Xbox 360 Generation 1 opening and cleaning tutorial. Next up is the Xbox 360 Generation 2, or Type S, also called the Xbox 360 Slim. Now then, I hope that you found this video instructional and informative. I hope that you will use it as a guide and a resource in the future. Thank you for watching, and any questions that you may have, I will be more than happy to answer. Just leave them in the comment section below. Alright, here we go.